What we're going to be doing today is using percents to solve word problems. So what would it mean if you received a test grade of 105%? That would mean you answered all of the questions correctly, 100%, and also answered some extra questions correctly. You answered an extra 5% correctly. This means that in very specific types of situations, we can talk about percents being over 100. So first we're going to practice writing the following percents as decimals. So we know how to write 5%. We're going to put our decimal right after the 5, move it 2 spots to the left, fill in any missing spots with a 0. So 5% is 0.05. 100%, our decimal is at the end of the 100. Move it over 2 spots to the left, 1, 2. You have 1.00. And 105, decimal spot, move it 2 spots over to the left. You have 1.05. That's something we've been practicing for a few days now. So we have to remember that a percent over 100 will make a number larger, versus a percent below 100 would make a number smaller. So we're going to learn 2 different ways to calculate percents over and under numbers. So to find a percent above 100, for example, 107%, you're going to take all of the original amount. All of the original amount is 100%, and you're going to add the 7% extra to that original amount. So first way we know how to do that is to calculate 2% and add the answers. And the second way you're going to do it is by combining the percents and then calculating the final answer once. If we're asked to find a percent below 100, we're going, for example, to calculate 80%. That means you're taking 20% away from your original number. So 2 methods again. First one would be to calculate the percent to be removed, the 20%, and subtract it from the original number. Or method 2 would be to determine what percent is left, 80%, from the original, and calculate the answer directly. So for percents above 100, a family pays $19 per month for internet access. That's pretty cheap. Next month, the cost will increase by 5%. After this increase, what will be the cost for the internet access? Okay, so method 1 is to calculate the 2 percentages and then add them together. So we know the 2 percentages would be the 100%, the all that it was. So that's $19. And then it's going to increase by 5%. So 5% as a decimal, remember move the decimal 2 spots over, would be 0.05. And I want to know what 5% of 19 is, so I'm going to multiply that by 19. And 0.05 times 19 is equal to 0.95. And then I'm going to add those 2 numbers together. So 19 plus 0.95, I get $19.95. Method 2, combine the percents and then calculate the final answer once. So we're just going to do one calculation here. Since I want to increase by 5%, that means it's going to be 100% plus 5%, which would mean 105%. So what is 105% of 19? Well, again, I need to change this percent to a decimal. So the decimal is after the 5 right now. I'm going to go 2 spots to the left. So 1.05 times 19. And you're going to get 19.95. The same answer because it's the same increase. Let's try that again. A store sells a certain brand of lawnmower for $275. Next year, the cost of the lawnmower will increase by 8%. What will be the cost of the lawnmower next year? So again, let's do this both ways. So calculate two percentages and then add the answers. So that means it's going to be the 100%, which is the full price, which is $275, plus the 8%. So 8% as a decimal, move the decimal 2 spots to the left, is equal to 0.08. And I want to know, what is 8% of 275? You get 22. So 275 plus 22 is equal to $297. Method 2, combine the percents and calculate once. So I'm going to combine the 100% plus the increase of 8%, and that is equal to 108%. So to turn 108% to a decimal, so I could use it to multiply, it's equal to 1.08, and of 275, you get $297. Percents below 100. The number of students in the school district this year is 650. Next year, the number of the district will be 20% lower. How many students will be in the district? Method 1, calculate the percent to be removed and subtract it from your original number. So again, we have our 100%, which is what we're starting with, 650 students. I need to figure out what 20% of that is going to be. So 20%, move your decimal over 2 spots to the left, 0.20 times 650 will be equal to 130. And since I am going 20% lower, I'm going to do 650 minus 130 because I need a smaller number. 650 minus 130 is equal to 520 students. Method 2. Determine what percent is left from the original and calculate the answer once directed. So I am going 20% lower. So that means I'm starting with 100% and I'm going lower 20%, so I'm going to subtract 20%. That gives me 80%. So I'm going to calculate what 80% of 650 is. So I'm going to move my decimal 2 spots to the left. I have 0.80 times 650. And just like I expect, I should get 520 students like I did in method 1. Okay, let's try one more together here. The number of books students accidentally left in Mr. Hansen's classroom last month was 80. This month, the number of books left was 25% lower. How many books were left in Mr. Hansen's room this month? So again, method 1, you're going to take your 100%, which is all of the books, which was 80. We're going to figure out what 25% of that is. So 25%, change that to a decimal, 0.25 times 80. You get 20. So you're going to take the 80, that was the original, and subtract the 20, and you would get 60 books. Method 2 tells us to determine the percent that is left and calculate your answer once. So if I started off with 100% and I subtract 25, because I'm going lower, that's going to be 75%. Let's change that 75% to a decimal. So I get 0.75 times 80. And you get 60 books. Okay, so that is the lesson for today, increasing and decreasing.